There's no doubt that peripherals are getting kind of crazy for the price in the market right now, and one of the best places to buy these peripherals at is Aliexpress, mainly just because of how cheap these prices are getting on all the peripherals in the market, especially at Aliexpress when you can save even more money, and this IPI float is a prime example of that. Now, like I just mentioned, this is the IPI float gaming mouse. Now, this pretty much has every single option and feature that you could really want in any kind of mouse in the market, from an 8K polling rate to a carbon fiber shell, a PAW 3395 sensor, and 42 grams of weight, and that's pretty much insane for a $50 price point when you're all said and done through Aliexpress. And that is a very, very compelling reason to maybe look at a mouse like this, because realistically, if you're buying the same kind of mouse with these specifications on Amazon or from like a more reputable brand like Logitech or something, it's gonna cost you a lot more money. And I mean, probably double or triple the price for a mouse of this caliber, but getting it $50 on Aliexpress is pretty insane. And today we're gonna be taking a look at this mouse. We're gonna be going over the unboxing process of what comes inside the box, and then obviously I've been using this for a day or two to kind of see if it's worth the $50. So we're gonna go straight into the unboxing, and we're gonna see what this mouse has to offer. All right, so here is our IPI float box here, and honestly, the presentation of this mouse is pretty awesome. Now, obviously, I've already taken a look at it. I've been using this mouse, so it's gonna be a little different than what it actually is whenever you open it up yourself. But here is your presentation. It looks pretty solid out of the box. You have, of course, your mouse, and this color scheme is pretty awesome. Now, one thing to note too, per Zach, the stock skates on this mouse were pretty atrocious, so we have some really quick speed skates on here, and they're just little dot skates, but stock skates aren't the best out of this mouse. Just a quick forewarning why that's a little different, but this is the mouse right here. We're gonna go more into the shape and the specifications and features this thing has to offer in a bit, but we're gonna go right back to the box here. So we have our little dongle for the 8K features. And the 8K dongle is of course included, which is a nice little touch that some don't even include at this price point, and you can see IPI. It's got a really cool little design inside this little tube here, and then you have your USB-C right here. And then of course underneath this foam, you have the little accessory package here. And pulling this out, we have a bunch of other items here, little goodies that you get included. You get a little scan piece, and then you also have some side grips, and then some additional skates if you wanted to swap those out. And yeah, nothing too crazy inside the box. You have a pretty nice braided cable, of course, with the USB end right here. And I will say this is definitely a nice braided cable. It's not one of those cheap, like kind of flimsy looking ones. So this is definitely a nice little feature. And if you do have to charge the mouse, directly whenever you're using it, you have the charger right here on the front. So I definitely don't think it's gonna be that big of a hassle if you have to plug this in. And it's gonna be a nice cable that's gonna last you a while. But more on the mouse. So I will say again, it is much smaller than the mouse that I daily drive at home, which is the Pro X Superlight 2. You have some really nice clicky switches here, and then the scroll wheel is actually a little wider than your traditional mouse. And I personally happen to like the scroll wheel. It's got a nice grip to it, and then your switches are very, very clicky, very, very tactile compared to like a traditional mouse. Definitely a little louder than normal. And then for your side buttons here, you can actually see they're kind of raised up a little bit. They kind of stick out, and they do feel pretty good. A little smaller than I probably want myself. You kind of have to move up and click them, but they are pretty nice, responsive, and have a nice click to those as well. And then on the bottom here, you have your sensor, the PAW 3395. You have a DPI button here, and then you obviously have your 2.4 or Bluetooth option depending on what you want to do. If you're using the 8K dongle version, you want to use the 2.4. You switch it up, and then it pretty much automatically connects with no issues. I also do like the pattern on the obviously switches here, so definitely a nice little touch. Nothing too out there in your face, but it definitely has a more competitive looking aesthetic to it, and I definitely think it's a nice looking mouse that can pair with a lot of setups. Now shape wise, this mouse is pretty reminiscent of the Final Mouse ULX, but with a less aggressive front flare. Sizing wise, it would be between the small and medium, and it's trying to fill that void that the Arbiter Akitsu hits while being a third of the price. I'll definitely say it's not a small mouse, but it's not like a medium-sized mouse. It's kind of like right in between. It definitely kind of allows you to kind of do like a natural claw grip, because anything else, it just kind of feels unnatural. Like I will cover my hand with this completely, no problem, compared to like my Pro X Superlight 2. And it definitely kind of calls for a bit of a claw grip kind of feel, and that's where it feels most natural when you're holding it in your hand just by itself. The sides aren't completely flat with a bit of a flare at the rear end of it, but I will just say, like I mentioned just before, it does feel the best with a loose claw grip. Now, one of the main downsides with this exact mouse is gonna be the software. Now, Software can be a plus or a minus to some people, but if you are looking for software, this mouse does not really make it easy. We have been looking around for some software that's compatible with this actual mouse, and the only thing we've been able to find is a Google Drive download on Reddit. Aside from that, there really isn't any luck with any software that's downloadable for this mouse. So configuring it and setting it up and things like that, there isn't gonna be much that you can really do with it if you wanted to change anything about the mouse. So that kind of is one of the downsides with the software on this mouse, but I will say the company does host a download set up through WeChat, but Zach really wasn't feeling like going through and testing that theory and just seeing if it actually works, and neither was I. So we ended up just not doing software for this one. But honestly, if you're just using the AK dongle, it's gonna be just fine. You're gonna have the AK polling rate that is advertised with this mouse, so there really isn't much to complain about it, and obviously you have a lot of DPI options on the bottom here, so you can usually find one that suits your sensitivity and everything like that. The skates that I'm running on this mouse are the X-Ray Pad Jade Dots, and again, like I mentioned earlier when we were unboxing it, and you obviously saw that the skates were obviously aftermarket. The stock skates, to Zach's usage as well, because he's been using this for a while too, they weren't that great, honestly. They're definitely becoming a little more inconsistent with use on a cloth pad, and that was actually pretty quick into the user experience with the mouse. So we recommended that a skate upgrade was definitely a major upgrade to this mouse. And honestly, in the day or two that I used it, I will say it was really, really fast. And these definitely are one of the fastest skates for cloth pads. And I can attest to that because whenever I put this on my desk pad and I actually use it, I had to turn on some sensitivities because of how fast it was. And I honestly thought that maybe my DPI was wrong or something, but no, it was pretty much the standard, but the sensitivity had to be bumped down because of how fast these skates are. So yeah, these are definitely some fast skates, and it's definitely a worthy upgrade if you are looking just, you know, to level up your mouse experience. You can always try out some other skate options out there on the market because there's tons of them. But aside from those notes, it's been a really solid mouse in the few days that I've had it, and I will say the QC is pretty damn good on this mouse. No creaks, no weird bends or anything like that. The clicks feel super solid and stiff, and the scroll wheel is nice and stiff as well. So there's really no weird parts where you'd be concerned for the longevity of this mouse. Like, this definitely feels like a very well-built, solid manufactured mouse. And that's definitely a nice thing to feel, because sometimes when you're buying a cheaper mouse, it can definitely be a bit of a concern for how well these are gonna hold up in the long run, like anything at a cheaper price point. But this definitely feels like a premium mouse that you would definitely be charged like $150 for on, you know, a more name brand website. The main takeaway that I had with this mouse is that it really doesn't even feel like you're holding a mouse at all when you're using it. Because of the 42-gram weight on this actual mouse, it is extremely, extremely light, and based on the fact that it's definitely a little smaller than your traditional mouse and it has a just a smaller profile, it definitely feels like you're just not using a mouse at all. And to some people that might be a really good thing, to other people it may not be as good of a thing. And I will say I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I do like lightweight mice, but I think the only problem that I have with this mouse is that I'm kind of someone that likes to use a bit more of a palm grip at the end of the day, because I'm never gonna be always gaming on my mouse, and I definitely wanna have some kind of contact on the back of my palm here. So this didn't really give me that. I definitely found myself just holding it at a loose claw grip like mentioned before, and I just wish there was a bit more of a hump at the rear end of it just to maybe allow my palm to rest on it just ever so slightly. But that's pretty much gonna wrap up my thoughts on this mouse today. I see why people are buying this mouse, coming with all the features that you could possibly want out of any mouse. This is about as good as it gets right now, and for 50 bucks, that's even better of a value because you don't have to sacrifice any features really compared to your high-end mice. So if you want any more information about this, I'll leave whatever links I can in the description down below. I'll even leave a link to Aliexpress so you can pick one of these mice up yourself. But thanks for watching, and if you all did, guys, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.